Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, Excellencies, colleagues and friends. 60 years ago this morning, the world awoke to newspaper headlines announcing the signing of the UN Charter, a document that has guided all who work for this organization, from the most exalted to those who toil away in anonymity. It is now my great honor to invite the President of the General Assembly, His Excellency Mr. Jean Ping, to say a few words. Monsieur le Président, vous avez la parole.
Monsieur le Secrétaire Général.
Mr. Secretary General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, today we are celebrating an historic event, deeply meaningful for our organization, the signing in San Francisco of the United Nations Charter on the 26th of June, 1945. This founding act was the outcome of a long process, commenced during the Second World War, the culmination of which was the San Francisco Conference, which was held from 25 April to 26 June 1945, and in order to conclude and sign the Charter. 60 years after its entry into force in October 1945, the Charter has not lost its strength nor the relevance of its vision, and still provides guidance to the United Nations as it deals with the threats and challenges before our world. This commemoration is another opportunity to reaffirm our devotion to the aims and purposes of the United Nations Charter by promoting development, rejecting war as a way of settling disputes among nations, and by unreservedly condemning any violation of the most fundamental human rights. At a time when the United Nations is committed to an ambitious process of reform and is getting down to work to prepare the high-level plenary meeting in September 2005, today's event resonates with a special meaning. This is why this formal celebration of the signature of the Charter should, for all 191 member states of the United Nations, provide an opportunity to reaffirm our commitments to conclude ongoing consultations to reach a result that will reflect the ambitious project inherent in the Charter. The credibility of the United Nations is at stake. Today, we must acknowledge the fact that the echo of millions of individuals throughout the world who are suffering from the destruction caused by war, terrorism, poverty, or even hunger rings far too loudly and indicates the long road remaining to secure the aims and purposes of our Charter. May this celebration serve as a reminder of our commitment and our shared mission to construct a world free from the tribulations of war, a world richer, freer, and greater, and characterized by greater solidarity.
Secretary General Kofi Annan.
Thank you, Sashi. Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the words we've just heard, the words of the preamble to our Charter, are engraved on our collective memory, on the collective memory of mankind. Over 60 years, the United Nations has striven to redeem those pledges. Where we could, we have averted the scourge of war. Where we could not, we have sought to resolve conflict and build peace. We have codified fundamental human rights. We have done our best to uphold the dignity of the human person. We have enabled many women to assert their equal rights with men, and many small nations to take their place in this assembly on equal terms with their former colonial masters. We have sought to establish conditions under which justice and respect for law can be maintained. And we have done whatever we could to promote social progress, better standards of life, in larger freedom. We have had many successes. We have kept the peace in many places. We have helped banish smallpox and polio from almost every country. We have given millions of children an education their parents could not dream of. We are helping with elections in countries from Afghanistan to Zambia. And we have brought relief to victims of disasters like the Indian Ocean tsunami. We have also had failures. The worst, perhaps, was our collective failure to prevent genocide in Rwanda. Today, in a new century, we face new threats and challenges, but also new opportunities. Those better standards of life in larger freedom are now within our reach. To reach them, we must advance on all three fronts: development, security, and human rights. Never in the history of the United Nations have bold decisions been more necessary, and never have they been more possible. In September, at the 2005 World Summit, your heads of states and government will be called upon to reach those decisions. Let us all work together to ensure that this once-in-a-generation opportunity is not missed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary General.